Alright guys, so this is going to be kind of a general type of video on selling computers on eBay. Now some of you may know I've been selling computers and refurbishing them for many years now, about 4 or 5 years or so. Actually a little bit longer than that. And it's been a pretty, I wouldn't say, it's not really something you're going to get rich off of, but it is fairly lucrative. I've made a good amount of money doing it. If you know how to do things properly, you'll make the most money. Now, in this instance, being that it's not really a get-rich-quick thing, it is something that I actually do enjoy doing. It's not a chore for me to do stuff like this. You know, it gives me something to do when I'm bored. What we can first talk about is some of the things that I use to make my life easier and to make it so that I can make the most money. And one of those is shipping. Shipping is something that when most people think of eBay, they think it's a chore, they think it's, you know, they don't want to deal with it, it's one extra thing that they have to do. And in a lot of ways it is. And I can see why people get irritated with the idea of shipping something when you can just list something on Craigslist and you won't have to ship it. You might have to deliver it, but you won't have to ship it and spend the extra money. Now, in this case, being the fact that I've done this for so long, shipping is not a chore to me. It's just something else that I have to do to complete a sale. Now, in the instance with shipping through eBay, thankfully they have made it very easy now to where anybody can measure, weigh, pack up, and eventually ship. The biggest benefit through shipping with eBay when you're selling bigger items such as computers or even smaller items is the fact that it's very convenient to use their system. They also give you a discount through FedEx and I believe USPS as well for using it. This is good because it does save you money to spend a little bit extra, buy yourself a scale, acquire a tape measure and a couple rolls of packing tape with a tape machine. And really, I bought this scale a couple years ago and it's already paid for itself many times over with how many times that I've used it. And it's not off by that much. For example, if this box weighs 18 pounds and 8 ounces, I normally round up anyways. And this isn't off, but usually by maybe 2 or 3 ounces anyways, it is fairly accurate. Now in the instance with this box, another area where you can save on packaging and shipping for yourself and for your customer is you can make the box smaller. No, it doesn't really look all that great. It's not very appealing to the eyes, but as long as the box is shipped and is received in a good, safe manner, this is what you can do to save that extra money, because originally this box was probably about that high, that much taller. Maybe it was a little bit more, I can't really remember. I did pack this up last night. What I ended up packing up was a stereo receiver that was shown in one of my other videos on my shrinking the size of your box by that much can make a difference in shipping as well, because size and weight do play a part. When you're looking to sell old computers on eBay, what you have to do is you have to determine whether it's worth selling it as a whole unit or parting it out. In this instance with this machine, I parted it out. And the reason for that is because more than likely, whoever is going to buy an Apple G3 desktop tower, or iMac, I believe is what they were called, is more than likely going to be a collector. And a collector isn't going to want something this dirty, this beat up. Both sides have these cracks in them. And if this was in perfect working condition and in near mint shape, it would be worth the time and energy putting it on eBay. Now, unfortunately, due to its shape and its condition that it's in, I went ahead and parted it out. I pulled all the pieces out because I determined that this motherboard alone is valued and sells at what I would get for this machine in complete condition. Now, the other benefit to this is I can use the parts from this machine in other computers that I'm refurbishing. I did try to, before I pulled everything apart, I did try to pull the power supply out of this machine and put it in this one, and it wouldn't fit. I mean, the box itself fit fine, the power supply fit fine, but the bolts, it didn't match up and I would have had to modify it, so I just kind of wrote it off. If this was in better shape, I probably would have gone through and modified the case to accept that power supply. When you go through and look at this type of stuff, most people don't realize that stuff like these mounts, like this fan mount, that's only sold with these machines is actually worth something. Now, the benefit to that is it's one more thing you can sell. This is the original hard drive from the machine. I think it's like 4 or 6 gigabytes. It's not very big. This can be sold, as well as the caddy that it mounts on, because it's not likely, I mean, it might be true that these are still being made by some third party somewhere. However, being the fact that they're original and that they're a smaller piece that is usually thrown away or recycled with the entire computer, these are worth money as well. And then you get to the smaller things like the ribbons. These don't go for much. I just threw them in here. The fans don't typically go for all that much. This one does still work, actually. And then I also pulled out the older hard drives as well, because this one had a RAID type setup in it. There was multiple hard drives. There's still one in there that I couldn't get out, but I digress. So that's really what you have to determine, is whether or not parting out or selling as an entire machine. Now, in the instance of selling stuff piecemeal, you're not going to get everything sold at once. I mean, you might end up sitting on things for a couple weeks. Now, that being said, it would be a lot easier to sell this machine as one whole unit and be done with it. But it really depends on how quick you need the money and how much time you have in order to deal with everything. Now, where I'm also fortunate as well is I'm able to procure boxes and shipping materials that have been used for free. So it behooves me to use that resource when I'm shipping stuff on eBay, because all this stuff is reused and it's all recycled, so it is kind of a green type deal, I guess. And that is one more thing you can do to help save money. These are all things that I've learned over the years, and believe me, when I first started on eBay, I look back on it now and there's things that I could have done to make more money. You know, really it has been a learning experience for me. Back on the topic of selling things by pieces or as a whole unit, this stereo receiver right here, I would sell as a whole unit. One, because it's already been taken apart. I do not know that much about this type of stuff, stereo receivers, audio equipment in general, to be able to pull them apart and understand what I'm looking at. So it's easier for me as a seller just to list this as an entire unit, say that it's sold as is, say that it's not tested, and whatever else in order to sell it. I did get this for free, so whatever I sell it for, I'm going to make a profit on, of course. So when you're selling something like this, you do want to make sure that you get what you charge for shipping correct, because that can really cut into your profits. To where if you charge $14 to ship something like this and it sells for $10, however, when you go to ship the unit and you end up having to pay almost $20, well, you didn't really make anything and it really wasn't worth your time to list it. So you have to be smart when selling stuff on eBay, and you have to correctly determine or even guesstimate how much you're going to charge as a flat rate shipping option. If you're worried about that, it is best to go ahead and calculate it for your customer. That way, the customer pays a set amount, you don't have to pay anything more for shipping, and you're protected on that end, and you can essentially charge what you think the item is worth, regardless of whether somebody will pay for it or not, with the amount of shipping included. Now back to this motherboard. The next topic I'm going to cover is shipping things for free. Free shipping can entice a lot of people to look at what you're selling and want to buy it. It's really amazing how much more attention saving $3 to $5 on shipping something as small as this through eBay will help you make a sale. Now, what's worth shipping for free is the question. Hypothetically speaking, let's say this bottom computer is worth $800. If it's going to cost you around $30 to $40 to ship it, that's a lot easier chunk to eat as opposed to shipping this for free and selling the entire unit for $20 and having to eat $17 or $18 in shipping, or even more than that, depending on the size of the box. So that's another thing you have to look at too. Whereas oftentimes selling this for $25, having to pay $5 to ship it, that's not really eating that's not eating much of your profit margin. Now selling this for $25 and paying shipping charges of $67, well, that's not going to eat too much of your profit if you do decide to ship it for free. And you can always charge $3 to ship it and have that subsidize what you would normally have to pay for the shipping anyways. So there's a lot of different variables you can look at. Now, shipping a bigger item such as this computer, here, this case, if I was to sell this case, which I'm not, it's not worth selling, but if I was, and if I was to offer free shipping on it, I likely wouldn't make on the case what it would cost me to ship it. So I wouldn't sell it for free shipping. But most of the time, if you do things correctly, it's not going to come back and bite you in the ass. Now, sometimes this isn't all-encompassing. You might still have issues with sellers, or with buyers rather, and stuff of that nature. It's going to happen. You're dealing with people, whether it's on Craigslist or eBay, you're going to deal with idiots. And though, in my experience, eBay has had far less idiots that I've dealt with as opposed to Craigslist. I do prefer selling stuff like this on eBay. And that's going to be my last topic for this video, is Craigslist versus eBay for computers and specialized equipment. Now, the benefits of Craigslist is obviously selling something big and not having to deal with shipping. You can, essentially deliver it or have the buyer come to your residence or a specified meeting point, and you could sell it to them that way. You don't have to deal with PayPal fees, you don't have to deal with eBay's fees, and it's, in a lot of ways, it's a lot easier. Now, Craigslist has its purposes. I use both. I use both eBay and Craigslist for different things that I sell. I would not use Craigslist to sell vintage electronics, older computers, broken computers. E-waste is another thing you could call this stuff. Craigslist just does not have, just by its own design and by its own nature, it does not reach the amount of people that eBay does. You're going to come across a lot more people who would be interested in buying something like this, whether for parts or for restoration, on eBay than you would Craigslist. You also make them more money as well. I have tried, don't get me wrong guys, I have tried to sell older machines like these on Craigslist, and literally nobody wants them on Craigslist. I get no calls on them. I mean, hell, you have people all the time, they can't even get rid of this stuff for free. And that's where I come in. I'm willing to do the extra legwork to list this stuff on eBay to ensure that I get the most money and for what this stuff is actually valued at. So that's really all there is for this video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to ask them. And of course, some of you might disagree with some of my methods or do things differently, and that's fine too. I always appreciate feedback on how other people do things as well. So that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and you all stay classy.